last steps in this drawing is now going to be putting in our dimensions. Okay, so for dimensions, the key thing to think about here is what are your critical dimensions for parts to fit together? What are the critical dimensions for the viewer of the drawings to understand and to know? And where else might these drawings be used? Prime example is for something like the General Assembly. Okay, the dimensions on there, the supplier might not really need them because when they put all the parts together, that's the size it's going to be. Okay, there's nothing really much to check. However, there might be other people in your company that really want to know, okay, how big is this thing going to be? So how many can we fit in a box? Or how many can we ship or fit into a number of cartons? So that's where a lot of dimensions, like general dimensions, sub-assembly dimensions, are really useful because they will guide you. If you try and think in that way, like who am I communicating these dimensions for? Then it'll help you decide whether or not you need to add a certain dimension in a certain place. So the basics of adding dimensions in drawings, very similar to how you would add them in a SolidWorks part file. You can still use gestures in your drawing, so you can right click and drag, and that will be the dimension tool. And then in our general assembly here, we just want to add the overall dimensions, so height, width, and length. And I like to add it on a view where it's most obvious. So I'm going to add it on this top view. Now, sometimes it can be very difficult to select your edges. So you do need a little bit of sensitivity with the cursor. And you can see the default for my dimensions in this document is to 2 decimal places. We can change that manually. I'll show you how in a second. And you can also change it per document. Okay. So how to, first up, our dimensions here, they're shown as gray in the drawing. I think when we print this, they will still come out as black, so nothing to worry about there. Actually, let's scrap that. We will go back and change the layers. So often your dimensions, or whatever layer you're drawing, SolidWorks Drawings has layers, much like Photoshop Illustrator does. To get to your layers, you can go Tools or View, Toolbars, Layer, and I've got it down here in my bottom left corner. I'll just raise that up a little bit so you can see. Okay, and I can click here on layers and I can control those layers. Okay, now my drawing template, document template had a layer for dimensions. So as I'm adding these dimensions, I can click on the layer and click dimensions. And any dimensions that I add on this layer will be black. So if I add a new dimension, let's say like here, that will be black compared to the original ones, which were gray. Now to change those gray ones that I've already created, just need to select them by holding Control and then changing their layer to dimensions, and they will come up black. All right, so let's continue on. Those are the only dimensions we need on this page. Now, the decimal points, how you can change that. If I select on a dimension, I can see here information about that dimension. I can see the liters, okay, what it looks like. I can see the tolerance. I can see dimension text. Here, I can change it and press none for the precision, and that's going to remove the decimal points. Typically, I would not recommend doing it this way. If you want to reduce or increase your precision, you want to right click on the document properties, you want to click on dimensions, and you want to change your primary precision here. That's where you want to control it. I'm going to go to 0.1 for this drawing, just to simplify things. This one, I'll just move that back to 0.1. So you can override. So these ones which went to 0.1, I can override it and go to many. Again, try not to do that. Okay, this page is finished. Let's go to the next one. Our bomb page and our exploded, both our bomb and exploded view pages do not have any dimensions, so they are good to go. Sub-assembly page, we do have a few to add in. For our sub-assembly, we're just going to add some overall dimensions. Okay, now these are essentially the same as like that part size for the form bracket, but this dimension for like the front view, that is pretty important for an overall. So it's good to put that in. The rest we can leave. And then we get into our parts. Now, the easiest way to dimension your parts is generally think back to the way you modeled it and what information you created it from in the first place, because those are going to be like some of the key dimensions that you'll need. In this example, there's a lot of dimensions around that bottom section with the revolve. some to do with the hole, the dome on the top, okay, and the dimension of those planes. Using your dimensions that were set as your design intent are generally good for adding to your drawings. But not every dimension needs to be added. Okay, think carefully about what dimensions can actually be checked by the supplier. So if they're using like a jig or a measuring tool, can they actually measure if that radius is 0.2 or 0.5 millimeters? Probably not. That's probably not something that you need to dimension on your drawings. This project and the example drawings you have will have a lot of dimensions that you generally wouldn't need if you're producing these parts, but it's part of a process of learning how to add dimensions to drawings. So that's why there are lots of dimensions in these drawings that you'll see. So let's go through. I'm going to simplify the dimensions for these planes. And I think we don't have any notes to add here. That's okay. Let's go through and see what we've got. So we've definitely got some dimensions on these section views. Now, a trick that I've learnt, you cannot dimension an ellipse shape or like an organic shape like this just by clicking the edges. Okay, you see this note, the selected entity could not be converted into a line or a circular arc. Can't do it. What we can do is sketch a fresh ellipse and then dimension that ellipse. We may have to delete this construction line, circle center mark, which we can do. Now I just need to make sure that I'm selecting those points on the outside. I can't see them, so I'm kind of guessing a little bit. 12. But if you click around in the right spots, you'll be able to get the exact points that you need. And then that center mark that was back there, that's under annotations, center mark. I actually can't add it back, not to worry. I'm going to do the same for this sketch. Once again, I can't dimension using what's there, so I'm going to sketch out an ellipse and then dimension it. This is not something that you would do regularly. In fact, apart from this project, I don't think I've ever really... That's not true. There have been a few times where there's been shapes or edges I can't dimension for whatever reason, but sometimes drawing a construction line or something else assists in the process. So we're going to put a few dimensions here, like on the section view, like a radius and the hole size. But I'm not going to worry about dimensioning the dome. Like, it's not a crucial type dimension. And at the bottom, there's a couple of other kind of annotations I want to show you. One of them is a center line. Center lines are typically run through things like revolves. Okay. Now you can do a center line by clicking on a round face and it will put a center line in for you, or you can click two edges and it will put a line in between them. So it doesn't always need to be a point that's getting revolved around. But these center lines can be really useful. You can dimension from them. So I can dimension from the center to here, for instance, 5, instead of dimensioning like the full width, 10. So it's good practice to just on this project, add in all the dimensions that you can see on the drawing that I've created. Oof, can't select that edge, that's nasty. Sometimes it's easier to select edges or faces in one view rather than another. The main thing is to make sure that you've covered off all of the dimensions that you need. This page looking really good. Save that. Now, good example here. There's not much required at all. Now you'll notice my dimensions are on an angle, whereas the example have them horizontal. Again, that's controlled by our document properties. So I'm just going to go to document properties, dimensions, and I'm going to click on each of these and turn the text position to be horizontal. So it only takes you 30 seconds to go through them all, but it's just going to make them a bit neater throughout my whole drawing set. Press OK, and you can see now that dimension sitting horizontal. If I go back here, some of these now sitting horizontal as well. Okay, much neater overall. So this is a great example here for a center line, and then I'm going to add some dimensions, on angles, just like we've done before in sketches. Now you will notice some of these dimensions are different from my original drawings. It's because we've done some parts in slightly different ways. But so long as everything fits together, it's not a problem. So I'm going to go through, I don't think you need to sit with me and watch every single little dimension added. Again, let's go on a time lapse and I'll smash through the rest of these and we'll chat again when we've finished. you missed it, I had a SolidWorks crash somewhere in there. I lost about 5 minutes of work, which is pretty annoying. Kind of thing happens, and that's why I'm so used to Control S, saving regularly. On this part here, notice it looks a little bit different from our drawings as well. A lot of these lines are dotted lines rather than hard lines. I just want to show you where that's controlled. So if I go into my document properties and I go to line font and I go to tangent edges, you can see here it's using a phantom edge. I can change that to solid, and that's going to take me back to solid lines here for these views and a lot of the other views that are similar. You can control things like line fonts, so how thick edges are, what they look like, what different types of lines look like. And that gets really specific into industry standards, you know, ISO stuff, etc. The things that I don't really want to get into because it's all about the process with this lesson, just teaching you how to do the drawing. So look, I think that's it. I think we've covered off pretty much everything with this drawing set now. I'm feeling really good about you know, what we've been able to get through, all the content. We were able to do all the dimensioning. Okay, look at a bunch of different tools with drawing views and configurations and sheet properties. So if you've been able to follow along this far, congratulations, well done. The last thing I want to show you is how to save this as a PDF. That's the typical way that you would send these files. Of course, you can print them on a normal printer. This is sized at A3. So you could try that out or scale down to A4. But 90% of the time, 90, 95, 99% of the time, my drawings, I'm PDFing them and sending them with a 3D CAD file or multiple files. So to do that, we don't actually go file save as, print save as PDF. We print as a PDF. So assuming you have Adobe PDF or another PDF printer installed, you would press print, then you change your printer to your PDF version, and then you just want to go through some of the settings to make sure you've got the size and things set up correctly. So click on page setup. You want to check that your paper size is A3 to match the drawing size. We're doing A3 here. You want to make sure you're in landscape, and you want to make sure the drawing color is set to color and grayscale. If it's automatic, a lot of things will often change colors. So my logo would change a color. Some lines which are red or blue might just go to black. Best to use color and grayscale and scale at 100%. Let me press OK. Press OK. It's going to ask us to save. I'm going to ask it here, save it here. CV code Pulley drawing set. Press save. I'm going to replace that file. It's going to go through and it's currently creating a PDF. Now this is one of the reasons why you might like to keep your drawing files individual rather than all as a set that we've done for this project. If you've got a lot of detail and a lot more than 10 pages here, or a lot more detailed parts, it's going to take a lot of time to export and print those PDF files. And also if you have a crash, okay, and you've been doing a lot of work on one file without saving, that's a lot of work that you can lose. But if your files are split into individual drawing files to match their parts, 1 or 2 sheets per part or a couple, it's just easier to manage, smaller file sizes and much quicker to export. Typically the drawings I work on, 1 or 2 sheets, sometimes 4 for an assembly, but that's it, and I'll usually just go straight through to print the PDF. All right, so that's all done. Now I'll just go to maximize this PDF, and always before you send anything out, definitely want to check through the PDF and maybe do your own markup. So a markup would be where you can make some annotations. A lot of PDF software have tools letting you add a comment to the PDF file. Okay, in Adobe PDF, I can go on the left here and click add a comment. I can add a comment here and say, this hatching is a bit confusing, and post, and it's going to save that comment into the PDF file when I save the file. Okay, I will save that there. So like the hatching there is something that I could work on, and then I have a look through the rest of the drawings. So same thing with the hatching on this one. If you're working at some sort of company, there might be a process where you have somebody that draws and somebody that approves and checks those drawings before they're printed as well. So that's the way that we do things where I work. But overall, this is looking really good. So that's going to wrap us up for our drawing, for our introductions to drawing. Okay, I'll see how these lessons go in editing, but I hope you've enjoyed enjoyed all the content that I've put together here, and you've learned some of the basics about how to, then model and then turn those models into 2D technical drawings, I'd love to get your feedback. Okay, what else have I missed that you'd like covered off, or would you like some more information on, or more project work? But thanks very much for following along. Really appreciate it. And let me know how you go in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and found something new to enhance your SolidWorks skills. Don't forget to subscribe to Fully Defined for more tutorials, tips and insights from a certified SolidWorks expert. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, leave a comment below. I read all comments and love hearing your feedback. Remember, with the right skills and tools, you can turn your design dreams into reality. Keep modeling, keep learning, and always fully defined.